Today's sex tip is communication equals comprehension, and without both, you get nothing. Typically, I find a lot of memes that are like, communication is the key, until a couple days ago, or last week actually. And there was a meme that said, communication is not key because without comprehension, there is nothing. Like, if you don't understand what I'm saying is pointless to you. So I see that happen in a lot of couples and just relationships or any sex relationships because though we might say we're communicating, we're not effectively communicating, or the other person is really not comprehending what we're saying. Talking about your sex life can be awkward, complicated. It can even be really hard to communicate that with your partner. But if you take a step back and look at it from the point of view of if we're not understanding each other, this is why you and I are not getting along or having sex or anything, then we need to fix it and we need to fix it immediately. Especially if you're not happy in your sex life. And most of the time, the other person doesn't even know that, but their friends do. Whether it be your girlfriends or your guy friends, they know. You're like, oh man, she's not doing it in the bedroom, da da da. Or, man, oh my God, he thinks he's be giving me the big O and he ain't doing shit. It happens. But if you think about it, disappointment usually lies in lack of communication. A lot of times when we're disappointed, especially with another person, is because they either don't understand or we have not explained to them how we feel. Or we assume that people can read minds. A lot of women think that. They're like, oh my goodness, man, he should know that how to wine and dine me. He should know me. We've been together for 10 years. Well, honestly, most people are constantly evolving and changing. So maybe the old you that it took to get you in the bed or get you in the bedroom no longer exists and you've reborn or you've become somebody different and he doesn't know that person and it's hard to get to know that person. Vice versa with guys. As they grow, we might not know or remember things that we used to do. So we should step up and reevaluate the conversation and have it. We are big sweeper under the ruggers, right? So, like, the biggest thing that I think people do is avoidance. We avoid anything, whether it be our bank account when we want to look at it and you're like, I've been spending money frivolously and shit. Or even just really hard conversations with people that you don't want to get mad or conflict or something because you just don't want to be in that space. But honestly, if you go into that situation with that type of energy, that's what you're going to come out as. You should be preparing for conversations and not going into them angry, upset, but with a good objective that you both are on the same team and you both have the same objective. We're definitely on the same team. It's like Kobe and Shaq. We're trying to win. So it should be me and you versus a problem, not me versus you versus a problem. That's where we end up getting really and upset with each other and then things don't go right. Everybody's feelings should be valid, but does not make them right. So I can feel some type of way, but it doesn't make it right that I feel that way. Or it could be not even how my partner intended for me to feel. Like that wasn't his intention. So sometimes that gets in a way because we're like, I feel. But I get that. We do feel. But we should also leave room for understanding because sometimes our feelings are based off of miscommunication and lack of understanding. So when you think of communication with your partner, especially about your sexual relationship, think of it like this. Would you ever go to a restaurant and just sit down and let the chef bring out whatever the hell he wanted to? Or would you go to Starbucks and pull up and let them say, hey ma'am, you look like a caramel macchiato? Or like go to a mechanic and say, I need my car fixed. And he's like, hey, don't tell me what's wrong with it. I'll fix what I want to. Those are the type of things that lead to issues in the relationship. Like, I know myself, so you should be able to communicate to me how you like to be pleased and vice versa because you know you and I know me. But getting offended or having some type of ego strut because I don't want to listen to your advice about you is kind of really dumb. Everyone is different. So everybody's communication styles are different. So that's really important to learn because sometimes you cannot know that and then really be bickering over stupid shit because you just don't understand their communication technique. Types of things that you should be communicating. So, like, number one, type of relationship. Are we in a committed or non committed? Are we in a sexual or non sexual? Are we friendly or romantic? Are we monogamous? Are we non monogamous? Those are questions we should have. We should not definitely assume, because a lot of you women and men get in relationships just assuming that we are together, or this is supposed to just be me and you, and we never had that conversation. So then when we find out the other person is talking to somebody, we get in our feelings when that was never the conversation to begin with. And then most people will put the blame, well, that person never told me. It's both on you, on the both of you, because two people should have a conversation of what they want and where they're going, right? Birth control options. This is important. A lot of you guys are in here not strapping up, or a lot of you women are not letting these guys strap up, and then you end up pregnant and the guy doesn't want to have anything to do with the baby. That's a conversation we should have had from the beginning. There's, are you going to wear a condom? Are you on birth control? Have you got tested for STDs? That's huge. Do you want to use spermicides? Yes, there's spermicides that you can put up in there to block all those little guys from getting into the goalie. You know, I remember back in the day, I started having a relationship with somebody, and it was just a sexual relationship. Trust me. And that was discussed early on, like, hey, what are we going to do? What are we going to use? Because we knew that the end result was we didn't want a baby, right? Sexual pleasures, like how you like to be touched, what feels good, what you like to do, sexual boundaries, like, oop, pineapples, I don't want to do that, you're too close to my butt, or, you know what, I want to explore the butt. People just need to be open to all types of conversations when you are trying to have a sexual relationship with anybody. No means no. Women, we are very guilty of not saying no and saying, no, no, and then that means yes. But we need to be firm when we don't want to do it, because that's important and that can have an effect on our life and another person. So let's make a smart decision and not assume people know, especially if we've been flirting in a situation. That's a fine line that people walk, and we shouldn't walk it. It really should be distinct, and you should tell people. If you don't think a guy has a chance of getting it with you by the end of the night, you need to let him know that. And guys, don't assume just because we've been flirting with you all night that you're getting the pussy, because we might just want our drinks paid for the night. But this is a conversation, and that's communication. But it ends in comprehension and making sure that both people know what and how each other feel moving forward. Timing is key for these conversations. Having these conversations in like a neutral zone, so that your partner doesn't feel alienated or pushed into a corner. Like, we want people to be open and feel vulnerable to be able to share, but they won't feel like that if you are right about to have sex and be like, hold on, babe, I want to talk about what we do when we have sex. Totally not right. So take time to pick good timing and have that conversation with somebody, like, hey, when's a good time that we can talk about maybe spicing up our sex life? When you have these conversations, talk about how you feel, not how you think the other person feels. You are not them. You cannot be them. You will never be them. Let them share with you how they feel, and you need to understand, and vice versa. We should not be pointing the finger or playing the blame game in this. We all have the same objective, and it's to have a really good sex life, not for us to end the night or the evening or the day mad at each other because we just wanted to spice up our sex life. Also, leave room to communicate and leave room to articulate what you're trying to say. That is very important, because when you want to talk about how you feel, sometimes you can't articulate it well, and that leads to problems of people comprehending things wrongly. Okay, if the convo doesn't go well, this happens. Most people don't want to hear about what they're not doing, right? Because in their minds, they think that they're doing everything right because you're hooting and hollering in the bedroom, and they assume. But this is okay, because everybody needs time to process anything. And sometimes we want to rush things, like, what do you have to say? How do you feel about that? Give them time to think. Don't rush their answer, because you want a well thought out answer. You don't want to answer based off of somebody's feelings being heard in the moment. You want somebody to tell you how they genuinely feel after they genuinely thought about what you said. Biggest thing is to make suggestions, not complaints. We are so problem based focused that that's how we approach it. If you come up with a solution and say, hey, maybe you should do this, or I really like to be kissed like this, and hey, when you touch me like this, or do that, that is a suggestion. Not, I hate when you da 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 da. I remember asking a friend, I said, hey, what do you like that he does? And she was like, well, he don't do this right, and he don't do that right, and he don't do that. I said, but what do you like? And she couldn't tell me what she liked because she was so focused all the time on what she didn't like. She had no idea what she liked. That could be hard because then you're chasing nothing that doesn't exist because you have no idea what happiness is for you. Comprehension. When I get done talking to my partner, my husband, I ask him, I say, what did you hear me say? Because sometimes he doesn't hear what I had said. He'll repeat something completely different. And when I don't say that, we both can walk away with me thinking that he understood everything I said, and him walking away like, oh, fuck her, or vice versa. So make sure the person heard you and understood you, because a person can sit here and say mm-hmm, 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 and not understand not one damn thing that you said. So comprehension is huge, and sometimes people will spend or put more effort into misunderstanding you than understanding you. Don't get offended by that. Move on. It's too much. And yes, when I say, what do you hear me say? He gets really upset because he's like, I'm not a child. But that does not mean you're a child. That means that you are taking the initiative and the extra step to make sure that you understood what a person said and that you heard them correctly and you felt them. Because if you didn't, that can lead to more problems. And I know of a lot of couples that it was one misunderstanding that caused a boatload of shit. And big thing, fellas and women. Fellas, compliment your woman. Tell her she's beautiful. Tell her she's sexy. She doesn't know that. She doesn't know that you feel that way. Yeah, that's maybe when you felt when you met her, but maybe she's gained 20 pounds since then and she hasn't heard you say that. But you can say that. And if you don't feel that way, tell her. Also, women, compliment your man. I made it a point to now, every time I see a good looking man, is to tell him he looks good, because that doesn't hinder me and my husband's relationship, but what it does is it brings confidence to other men, because then they're not flattered by somebody in the office just flirting with them or something. They know that's what they bring to the table and good. We have a tendency not to compliment these men, not to tell them that good job and hey, I'm really proud of you and man, you're dope. We just always want to call them dogs and stuff like that. One last thing, liking a picture on Instagram is not equivalent to a compliment. Just remember that. The other thing is that if you are out here seeking advice, make sure that your ego is not in the way, because your ego is one of the main reasons why you don't take people's advice, because you don't want to change. So take a step back, remove your ego, and place it in a spot that you can be better and evolve. Have a good day.